Hello and welcome. I'm Mr. Beauchamp and this is Competency 4, World Religions, Lecture 1, Why We Study World Religions. Let's take a quick look at the learning objectives for this lecture video. You're going to have essentially two lecture videos. This one being more of a general overview of what religion is and the worldviews of the world religions, and really what religion says about our culture. So the learning objectives that we have for this lecture video, first is that by the end you should have an understanding of the defining features of the world religions and religion itself. You should also be able to interpret the reasons people study religion in the first place. You should also understand and interpret the various things religion speaks about culture and the world we live in. And most importantly, you should be able to understand how religion affects you. So let's look at the word religion itself. There's no set definition that people can agree on, but what we do know is that religion is an organized collection of beliefs, cultural systems, and worldviews. I'll use Christianity as an example for the large part of this video, probably because I'm most familiar with that one, and I'm sure maybe some of you watching are familiar with it as well. But feel free to use really any of the world religions as an example in trying to find these connections. Christianity, for example, most people throughout the world may be part of a different denomination. So you're going to have maybe people that are Orthodox Christians, people that are Catholics. Now they're going to differ on how they practice that faith, but I can guarantee they're going to have an organized collection of beliefs that are the same thing. Their worldview is generally going to be the same thing. You ask them who their supreme deity is, they're going to say God. You ask them who Jesus Christ is, the majority of them are going to say that he's the Son of God, the manifestation of God, and most of these ideas are going to be the same thing. More importantly, though, and I like this definition a little bit better, is that religion is an appeal to understand, to gain deeper meaning. We can really learn a lot about people by what they believe and what they want to understand about the world. Religion simply helps explain the unexplainable. It gives us a deeper meaning sometimes of why we're here, of why we act the way we do, why other people act the way they do. And these are just some of the symbols of the world religions. Next, let's take a look at the world religions themselves. If we look at this pie chart here, we see 4 out of the 5 main world religions. The only other one missing is going to be Judaism. And that is because Judaism, it takes up such a smaller chunk of, that would be in this other religions section here. They don't have as many adherents to their faith as you're going to see in some of these other world religions. Now let's look at these defining characteristics of the world religions. What makes them world religions and not just a religion? World religions are transcultural international faiths. They're all over the world. Again, I'll use Christianity as an example because actually that's the biggest one. You're going to see Christianity in places like Greece, Serbia, Russia, all throughout Europe. You're going to see it in parts of Africa. You're going to see it in parts of South America. You're going to see it in North America. And even though there's going to be differences in what they interpret, they're still going to be called Christians. Okay, so they really transcend boundaries, and they're international. That's what makes a world religion. World religions also seek worldwide acceptance. They're always actively looking for new converts. They always want people on board to join them, and they want to keep growing. Now, world religions is going to be a little bit different than what you would see in places like Africa or places like South America with tribal religions. Tribal religions don't seek converts. They don't really care about worldwide acceptance. They just want to be left alone. World religions are actively seeking converts. They transcend the boundaries, and they want worldwide acceptance. So the big burning question that we have is why we study religion in the first place. Why is this important to me? So let me give you some reasons. Why should I bother studying this? Well, you as an American are linked to religion whether you like it or not. In the Constitution, we have what's called the separation of church and state. We have what's called the Establishment Clause in the First Amendment, and that is says Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. This means that you can practice your faith. And it also means that if you don't want to practice a faith, you will not be persecuted by the government. The government cannot impose a faith on you. They cannot impose a religion on you against your will. This also means that the government cannot create laws that favor a certain religion. And this is going to be a big point of contention, and it still is. Over the past 100 years, we see on our money, in God we trust. We see people challenging this, saying that, well, the American government is favoring Christianity, and we see people on the other side saying that, well, Christianity was part of the, what the founding fathers believed in. We see, arguments from both sides. So this doesn't impact you as an American citizen. This is going to be much different than what we would see in places like Saudi Arabia that have Sharia law. Basically, their interpretation of laws are based on religious codes. It's based on their holy books. So I'll give you an example. Women have to dress modestly. They have to cover up with the burqas. And that is according to their religious practices. Now, if we apply this to America, and we say that America is going to base their law system on their holy books, and we say, well, let's just say the Book of Leviticus, the Judeo-Christian Book of Leviticus. Well, if that were the case, then all American men would not be able to ever cut their beards, because that's against the law in the Book of Leviticus. You would also not be able to argue with your parents. Can't even have tattoos. And guess what? You can't even work on a holy day whatsoever. Some of these laws are punishable by death. So we have to imagine that we're pretty lucky being in America here with the separation of church and state. People are free to practice their faith quietly in their home, and they can't force it on anyone else. Secondly, tradition really does help us understand what we call the human condition, what makes up our human existence, our strengths, our weaknesses, our shared experience, how we view things, our morality, right? It's a really heady term, but really religion helps explain that. It gives people a worldview. It helps people explain, what's going on with this human experience that we're all going through right now. One of the most important ones is that we learn about religion to gain tolerance and acceptance of other people and other cultures and other religions. And this is going to be of key importance to you. You may be an agnostic. You may be an atheist. You may just be a Christian or a Muslim or a Jew, and you may not care about any other faith whatsoever. But it's still important to learn about them, to understand where people are coming from. And sometimes when we can see our similarities, it's easier to kind of bridge our differences. It's easier to come to a conclusion. So I really think that this is going to be one of the key important ones here. And also, a lot of times people are scared of other religions. We view other religions as being very, very extreme. And sometimes when we can have a better view of it, we have a better appreciation overall, and we're not scared of it anymore. Next, learning about cultures, religions, and their practices is just rewarding in and of itself. When we can learn about other people, and we can learn something else, and we can see our similarities more than our differences, it's a rewarding feeling. It makes us feel a little bit more human. It makes us feel more connected to each other. So what does religion say about culture? Well, it says quite a bit. The first thing is that religion does explain how civilization spreads, population and movement. Historically, I'll give you an example, the Jews have been kicked out of almost every place that they've gone to. And wherever they move where other Jews are. They move into communities. And this isn't just with Jews, this is just with other people. You move where you're comfortable. And this is true to the point when we look at mid to late 19th century and early 20th century immigration. People moving in communities where people are just like them. People have the same values. People have the same religion. Or they're escaping persecution together. Next thing we want to look at is that civilizations devote a lot of time to their beliefs, rituals, ceremonies, worship, and art. And this is absolutely true. Just look at this architecture. Look at any Renaissance painting. People really take religion seriously and they put it into their artwork. Next one is civilizations are pretty steadfast in their beliefs, and this sometimes leads to conflict. This is very true with the Salem witch trials. Very true with the witch trials in England, and it's also very true with just groups of people disagreeing on their faiths. They don't agree with another group, so they seek out to slaughter them. They seek out to eradicate them. And this is true what we see going on in the Gaza Strip right now between Hamas and the Israeli army. This isn't something that's just based on boundary. This is something that's based deeply rooted in their faith. And one thing we really realize is that civilizations are actually pretty common. And this is where we kind of bring up the 5 characteristics of the world religions. Take a look at this image here. This talks about every figure historically since ancient Egypt, this Jesus Christ figure, and kind of how religions borrow from each other. And this isn't disproving that one is right and the other is wrong. It's just simply showing you that, like folk tales, like urban legends, like stories, they transcend boundaries. They don't just stay in one place. We are influenced by stories from other groups of people, and we share those. And this is certainly true with religion. You can see this. Jesus Christ, born of a virgin, born on December 25th, star in the east. We see with Horus and Attis and Mithra, Krishna. So we see with all these other different gods of these different regions and different faiths, we see the same attributes that Jesus was given, and Jesus, of course, comes much later than all of these. These are the 5 characteristics of the world religions. All of the world religions, you're going to pretty much see these 5 things. The first one being a deity or supreme being, and that is basically a God figure. Okay, most world religions will have some type of God figure at the center of their worship. You're going to see a doctrine of salvation, which basically means a way for you to get to where you need to go, a way for you to be forgiven. We're pretty used to probably the Christian view of apologizing and saying sorry and doing some type of penance for it. But even you see this in Hindu faith of how you act in your life dictates how you are reborn, and your ultimate goal is to escape this cycle of life. And when you escape it, it's called moksha. So we see the same idea here. 3, in world religions, you always see some type of code of conduct, just simply rules of what you cannot do. Whether it's through your actions or through what you can eat, what you can't eat, what you can wear, how you should act. Most world religions have some type of code of conduct. 4th, you see the use of sacred stories or texts. This is stories that have been handed down by a god figure and written down in a book. A lot of these sacred stories are shared. The story of the flood we're used to from Noah's Ark, but actually that dates back to Mesopotamia with Utnapishtim. And lastly, you see religious rituals. Religious rituals are something very common in all of the world religions. This is a Catholic Lutheran ceremony here, maybe, and you see these rituals. They're done the same way every single time. Think about your morning ritual. You probably wake up, you brush your teeth, you may shower, maybe you have breakfast, whatever order you do that in, that's your ritual. Same thing with religion. If you go to church on Sunday, the church is probably going to be the exact same thing. It's going to be the exact same format. This picture right here, Muslims praying 5 times a day towards Mecca. This is a ritual that they do every day. So overall, that's the breakdown. This is the overview of religion. Hopefully you're able to gain a little bit of a better understanding of everything. And the next lecture video that you'll be looking at focuses on the specific world religions and what they believe in.